In Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer, you are part of an Apex team, the best of the best the Nexus has to offer. While not a regular group of soldiers, they are nonetheless talented individuals that take on the most dangerous and important missions in this new galaxy. In this series, we are going to take a look at the various class builds for the various characters in the game's multiplayer. So with that in mind, I'm Darcblade, and let's take a look at the next Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer character, the Turian agent. As always, remember that these guides are aimed at the harder difficulties that the game's multiplayer has to offer. They are also made with rank 10, level 20 characters, although later on in the video there will be suggestions for lower ranked characters so long as they're still level 20. The Turian agent was a new character added to the game soon after its release, and he bears similarities to the Turian ghost from Mass Effect 3's multiplayer. With that in mind, he is a superb infiltrator class, and thanks to a unique ability, Recon Visor comes in very handy on all difficulties that the game has to offer. However, he does rely on weaponry to be at his best. With that in mind, I spec the Turian agent as follows. I start by maxing out Recon Visor, going up to rank 6, putting points into Shatter Armor over Extend Duration. Now, both of these are good to be honest. Extended Duration will increase the duration of Recon Visor so long as you can get kills. However, Shatter Armor comes in incredibly useful, not only for you, but for your entire team, as you cause armored targets to take more damage. This comes in very useful for the tougher foes in the game, like Fiends, Hydras and Destroyers. Next, with rank 5, I put points into Augmented Range over Duration. Again, both of these are good. Augmented Range increases the actual effectiveness of your Recon Visor, allowing you to see targets who are further away, and Duration obviously increases the amount of time Recon Visor is active. I would say that depending on what weapon you're using can dictate your choice here. If you're using close range weaponry, then Duration may be better, as you don't always have to see targets who are far away. However, if you're using sniper rifles, then Augmented Range is probably optimal here. And finally, with rank 4, I put points into Recharge Speed over Accuracy and Stability. This is simply so I can use the Recon Visor more often. Next, with Tactical Cloak, a staple of all infiltrator classes. I maxed this out going up to rank 6, putting points into Combat Cloak over Escape Artist. This basically allows you to deal more damage after breaking Cloak. Escape Artist is okay, especially if you're only using single shot weaponry. Next, with rank 5, I put points into Duration over Speed. Duration will allow you to successfully use Tactical Cloak and take objectives without much risk. And finally, with rank 4, I put points into Damage Bonus over Recharge Speed. The recharge speed on Tactical Cloak is already quite quick, and damage bonus will simply increase your damage output by quite a substantial amount. Next, with Flamethrower, I only go up to rank 4 in this, going up to rank 4 putting points into damage over recharge speed. I find that Flamethrower is only really best used for emergency situations when enemies are close to your location. If I were to max it out, I'd put points in probably rank 6, anti-armor over blinding heat, and in rank 5, reach over lingering burn. But as I said, Flamethrower for this guy is primarily used as a close combat tool. Next, with the passives, with Apex Training, I go up to rank 6, putting points into Weapon Specialist over Power Specialist. This is again because I feel that the Turian agent is at its best when it comes to using weaponry rather than powers. Next, I put points into Ammo and Targeting in rank 5 over Aerial Combat Training, again to improve his lethality with weapons. And finally, with rank 4, I put points into Weapons Training over Power Augmentation. And finally, with support systems, I only go up to rank 4 in this, putting points into Tech Duration over Melee. However, if you wanted to drop points in Flamethrower, you could potentially max this out completely. If you were, I'd go up to rank 6, putting points into probably Tech Sabotage over Shield Reset to put a debuff on enemies attacking you, and I'd probably put points into Tactical Evasion in rank 5 over Tactical Revive. I must say that if Platinum difficulty ever does come out, then maxing support systems over Flamethrower may be the better option. But as it stands at the moment, thanks to Tactical Cloak and going up to rank 4 in support systems, it gives you enough survivability to take on the harder difficulties. As for weaponry, now this is where things get interesting. On the whole, I would normally advise a high impact semi-automatic sniper rifle. My personal favourites being the Black Widow, Lenart or Inferno. However, being a weapon-based infiltrator, he can get away with other weapons, such as shotguns and assault rifles. But thanks to Tactical Cloak, Recon Visor, sniper rifles really do come in useful for when you're shooting enemies through cover. As for gear, go with something to either increase your weapon damage or survivability. Now moving on to the heart of the episode to talk about the moves and abilities available to the Turian agent. The first ability, and unique to him at the moment, is the Recon Visor. Once you activate the ability, the Turian agent will augment his reality, thanks to a visor he wears on his right eye. This will display and highlight all nearby enemies, regardless of walls or cover, Basically, it allows you to see through the environment to where enemies are, at least within a certain distance. The distance can vary depending on how you spec the ability, but the way I got it in this build is that it should be able to see enemies up to 48 meters away from you, so that's quite a distance. And with a sniper rifle at hand, it means you should be able to easily get shots off at these distant targets. On top of that, once Recon Visor is active, all projectile-based weapons will penetrate through cover. The way it's spec'd at the moment, it will penetrate up to 2.3 meters worth of cover, and a penetration damage will be 85% of your weapon damage. This can be enhanced even further if you have weapons that have receivers on. Receivers naturally allow your weapons to penetrate thin cover. So basically, activating Recon Visor allows you to see the enemy around you. It also allows you to shoot at enemies through cover. And you'll be surprised at how much cover you can actually shoot through with Recon Visor active. This allows you to safely snipe from secure positions without putting yourself at risk at all. Whilst activated as well, if you don't have a receiver on your weaponry, this will also allow your weapons to pierce through enemy targets, hitting enemies behind them. A receiver would naturally allow you to do this anyway. If you put points into Shatter Armor, it also provides a debuff against armored targets, which comes in incredibly useful against the Outlaw faction or when fighting the boss type enemies like Hydras, Destroyers and Fiends. It also allows you to see enemies who are cloaked or invisible, which comes in incredibly useful against factions like the Kept. You'll be able to tell when Recon Visor is active via icons on your HUD, which are displayed to the left and right of your screen. You'll also be able to tell by the enemies being highlighted in red, similar to when there are only a few remaining enemies left on the map. You can also turn on and turn off Recon Visor. So if you happen to eliminate the target you're looking at, you can turn off Recon Visor to give it a quicker cooldown, rather than letting it run out naturally. This can be incredibly useful, especially when you're hunting down priority targets or doing assassination objectives. The next ability is Tactical Cloak, a staple of infiltrator classes. Once used, the Turian agent will use light bending technology to render themselves invisible. However, whilst invisible, they won't be able to regenerate their shields or health. However, if they attack from an invisible or cloaked position, the gun, power and melee damage will all be increased. Also, the way I've spec'd the ability with Combat Cloak, this allows all weapons, abilities and melee attacks to have that increased damage for 2 seconds after breaking Cloak, useful for when you have a semi-automatic weapon or when using Flamethrower. Tactical Cloak also comes in useful as a defensive tool, as it can allow you to relocate locations safely, move away from enemy positions and even take objectives without risk of enemies attacking you. This is because when you are cloaked, enemies will lose aggro, although if they do see you cloak, they will shoot in the general direction that you used Cloak. As a rule of thumb though, always try to use Tactical Cloak before attacking, or for when you need to retreat and relocate your position. For optimal damage with the Turian agent, it's best to synergize Recon Visor and Tactical Cloak together. Using Tactical Cloak alongside Recon Visor will allow shots that go through walls or objects to be even stronger, potentially one-shotting any enemy hiding from you. Just try to take advantage of weak points. The next ability is Flamethrower. Once the ability is activated and held down, it will unleash a short-range jet of flames that cause burning damage to armoured and ongoing burn damage to unshielded enemies that are caught within its plume. The damage is quite substantial, however its range is quite short. For the Turian agent though, the Flamethrower comes in incredibly useful for a backup tool, because as the way I've got him spec'd, he works primarily as a sniper based character, and the Flamethrower comes in very useful for when enemies get on top of me, not only because you can damage multiple foes that are close, but because enemies who are unshielded, when they do burn, they will panic, and this will interrupt their attack against you, giving you time to either pull off headshots, run away, or continue damaging them with the Flamethrower. Of course, if you just tap the ability button with Flamethrower, it will only do a second's worth of fire damage, which isn't really useful. Major downside about Flamethrower is while active, you will be constantly standing up, pointing your Omni tool at enemies. This leaves you open for enemies who are firing at you from afar, so be wary when using this ability and make sure it's safe to do so. The Flamethrower can also be used as a primer for fire combos. However, the Turian agent has no real way of actually activating the combos himself and will instead have to rely on teammates to detonate them with detonator abilities. As for the passives with Apex training, this is basically used to increase your weapon damage, and this in conjunction with Tactical Cloak and Recon Visor means that you'll be able to do the most damage you can with your weaponry when it comes to penetrating walls. Finally, with support systems, as I said, this is mainly for survivability. In rank 4 tech duration, this will help increase the duration of your recon visor and tactical cloak, so that's useful. Rank 5 tactical evasion, which increases your health and shields again, as well as movement speed, can be useful, and in some respects it may be a better choice for some players over going up to rank 4 in flamethrower, but it's down to personal preference whether you need that survivability or not. The Turian agent's base mechanics are very similar to other infiltrator classes. However, they are Turians and come with slightly above average health and shields, giving them more survivability. They have a simple dodge mechanic that utilises their tactical cloak as they dodge, as well as a standard Omni Blade melee attack. However, as with all Turians, they have a unique hover mechanic. Once you jump and aim, instead of staying stationary airborne, they will float in whichever way you were moving prior to the jump. This can sometimes give you a little bit of an extra vantage point when taking on enemies. Going back to the weapons, this is where the Turian agent can be a monster of a class or just a mild annoyance against your enemies. As I already mentioned, semi-automatic high-impact sniper rifles seem to work best, but you can really get away using most weapons in the game on this guy. If you were to go with shotguns, for example, or submachine gun pistols, then you have to remember that you'll be putting yourself at more risk due to the fact that you have to get up close against enemies. I've personally had the best results with the Lanat and Black Widow, keeping your distance from the enemy, being able to see them through walls and objects, and having as much weapon damage and thus armor penetration as possible really did feel optimal. Now, if you don't have a rank 10 Turian agent, I would still advise going up to rank 6 in tactical cloak, taking combat cloak. Afterwards, focus on Apex training and recon visor. Then, if you have any points left, take them in support systems for survivability, and then finally, flamethrower. Again, if you don't have a rank 10, I would still advise going with a sniper rifle on this character. Overall, I feel the Turian agent is more reliant on weapons than power damage. Some players looking at this, especially if you played Mass Effect 3's multiplayer, you could see similarities between the Geth Infiltrator and Geth Trooper. Those characters had abilities that allowed them to wall hack, seeing enemies through walls, and the Geth Trooper even came with flamethrower. And some people may be wondering why I didn't go with the flamethrower build with this character. Well, it's because he doesn't exactly have the survivability of, say, the Krogan mercenary. Yes, you could use tactical cloak to escape or attack with flamethrower, but it doesn't give you a consistent survival mechanic. Instead, opting for the weapon-based sniper route, relying on recon visor to see enemies through walls at a great distance, and tactical cloak for increased damage, resulted in high-level matches being very easy. Just remember to take your time, line up your shots, go for weak points, turn on and turn off recon visor when taking on priority targets or when there are many targets around you. Try to use tactical cloak as often as you can, and you'll be easily able to complete any of the harder difficulties that Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer has to offer. Anyway, I hope you found this guide helpful, and until next time, I've been Darcblade, bringing you a Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer guide to the Turian agent. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.